words, and in today's video I am going to take you on a little adventure back in my last 3 years of one little word albums. I've got another video that shows you 2011 through 2017, and I'll link that for you guys below. One Little Word is a project. It's a community, it's a movement, it's all of those things, with the simple idea being that you pick one word to be your guide for the year, or that you want to investigate for the year, or you want to get curious about over the course of the year. I started doing this practice in 2006, picking a word, and then in 2011, that was the first year that I offered a workshop and actually started documenting my experiences with each of the words that I've picked over the course of the years. And I can tell you that this is actually what makes what makes One Little Word different from other choosing your word adventures that are out there. Is this process of documenting, right? And most of the people in our community are memory keepers, or they're memory keeping adjacent, or they have some idea of what memory keeping is. And for me, memory keeping and scrapbooking are basically the same kind of thing, right? I am telling stories about our lives as we are living them, or I'm reflecting back and telling stories. But One Little Word for me is really more of a personal development project through the lens of memory keeping, or through the lens of documentation. And for me, it's the documentation piece, the coming back to my word each month throughout the course of the year, that I think has really made a difference for me. I don't forget my word. I generally keep up with it. Part of that is because I'm leading a workshop, but also because I have something that I come back to each month, right? There's a message, there's a prompt, there's something to do, something to help me think about where I'm at with my journey with my word. So let's go ahead, let's start with 2018 first. I've got 2018, 2019, and then 2020 here to share with you. And if you go back and look at the 2017 or the 2011 through 2017 video, you'll see that in the beginning I did it in a variety of different sizes. So I did it in an 8.5 by 11 album for a number of years, and then the last, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years now, it's been in a 6 by 8 size. In 2018, it had a little bit of a smaller spine. 2019, 2020 have been in the 2.5 inch spine. And again, everyone who participates in the workshop doesn't make something that looks exactly like this. Some people follow along very specifically with what I do. Other people approach it in a variety of different ways. Some people just listen to the prompts and use that as a way to think about and connect with their word each month. Some people use a journal. We have a journal that we offer. There, you can check that out in the overview video, the product overview video for this year. Some people are doing them in traveler's notebooks, so in a blank notebook where you can take it with you. It's a little bit easier to throw it into your bag if you want to jot down notes throughout the day or as things come to you. I've stayed in the album just because that's an easy way for me to work with what we have here. So let's go ahead and dive in. So this is 2018. This is the year where my word was space. And as I flip through here, everything that's in the album was offered as a product, as a piece of our One Little Word collection for that particular year. So you'll see how I am incorporating the products and using the products to support the documentation of my journey with my word. So started with a tag there, usually have some sort of photo in the beginning. We generally have dividers that bring you into our January prompt. Some of the prompts we do in the workshop are the same year after year. I really love that repetition. Other times they are new and different. This year in the workshop, I've invited 8 other women to join me in leading some of the prompts. I'll be sharing my own take on the prompts, just as I always have as well, and bringing my own voice to the story, or to the workshop. But I also wanted to include some other voices this time and some other perspectives, mainly because I'm looking for that sort of inspiration from other people, or some people to bounce ideas off of. And so far in the planning for the workshop, it's been really inspiring to me and has already felt felt really like it was the right choice for me to do that this year. So I know for some people it's a big change to have other teachers involved or other women involved, but really they're just a part of the community like everyone else. And I'm excited to have them share their own experience and their own prompts with people who participate in the class this year. And as always, you can read more about that on the class page. So generally here we start off with our reason why, our intentions, what are we letting go of. So a lot of writing in the beginning as we set ourselves up for success throughout the year. And success, I say that in quotations because this project really isn't about succeeding or failing. It's really about documenting your year with a particular word. So again, space, I talk about what are some of the things I want to focus on. We often do a vision board. Sometimes the vision board is in the album or in your project. Sometimes I've done larger ones that are hanging on the wall in the office. We often do some sort of a practice prompt where this was inspired actually by Elise Kripe, the idea of, writing things down and documenting, picking one thing and then documenting it over the course of the month, what you're going to show up to. Mine usually revolves around yoga, it seems. Sometimes we do notes to self. This would be like the April prompt. So what I want you to see as I flip through these albums that this is not complicated, super uber creative scrapbooking. This is really a home for your experience with your word. Each month in the classroom having a prompt that brings you back and gives you some opportunity to reconnect with your word. Sometimes it's through photography, sometimes it's through journaling, sometimes it's through collage or some sort of mixed media that maybe gets you out of your comfort zone and invites you to connect with your word in a different way. Let's see, so here's June is usually the same. We talk about where we are in progress for over the course of the year so far. So this is kind of the halfway point. Here's a look at some collage sorts of things that we do. And also you'll see in mine, and I always think this is important, that I always have some spaces either I left blank or I didn't finish them. That's just kind of a part of the process, I feel like, with all of these projects that I do. But for the most part, I am showing up to these each month and recording and documenting what is my experience with a particular word this year. So again, this year was space. So opportunities for documentation. We usually talk about what are the stories that we're telling ourselves. That's often a prompt there. That comes from Brene Brown in one of her books. Sometimes we revisit the photo prompt. Sometimes we do music, connecting through your word to your word via music or quotes. Often we'll write a letter to ourselves at some point in the process, and then we wrap it up in December with an overview, looking at what ended up happening over the course of the year. What were the ways that you connected? What were the ways that you didn't connect? We go back and look at the intentions that we set in the beginning of the year, and we kind of just reflect, and what do we want to remember about that point in time? For me, when I look back at these albums, I'm always just so amazed. Amazed isn't the right word. I feel really grateful that I had the opportunity to document my experiences with these words. Because if you asked me, what was your experience with the word space like? What did if you asked me that, I probably wouldn't be able to remember, but even this is 2018. But I have this whole album of things that I did over the course of the year. Again, I didn't sit down in one day and do this, right? I did it just a little bit each month. It's the opportunity to reconnect with your word each month. That's what's in here. And then I can go back and look and say, oh, this is what did I learn from having space as my word? And I'll just share with you some of the things that I wrote on here. I want to remember that so much about space is identifying what matters most and letting go of the excess. Space equals intention, getting intentional for me. I want to continue to work on creating space through pausing. That pause in the process is so important. I want to remember again that while this whole thing is a life journey, and I want to give thanks for learning little bits as I go, I want to remember that other people need need space too. I want to remember and continue to investigate the difference between the person I want to be and the person I am. Am I truly living in alignment with my values? And why do I want to be this vision of myself versus embracing me as I am right now? Good questions to ponder. And I want to remember, as always, that words matter, that stories matter, that living intentionally is the way I want to live my life. So that's a great example of the kind of writing that I do at the end of the year as I reflect back on my words. And sometimes I've really connected with my words, and other years it's more of like, yeah, okay, that, you know, I learned some things about myself. Maybe that wasn't my favorite word, but there are still things to take away as well. All right, let's go ahead and look at, that was 2018. This is 2019. My word in 2019 was habit. Again, all of the products that you see in here were offered as part of a collection. We have a new collection for 2021. Again, the goal with the products are just to support your stories or support the documentation of your word. You do not have to buy the products to participate in the workshop. It's just an option and a way to support you. All right, so this word, this was habit. And I've got a variety of things going on in here. As you can see, usually I have some photo of myself, like I said before. And what you'll see as I flip through here, and if you watched the video from 2011 to 2017, a lot of the things that I did are similar, right? They're the same sort of reason why and a quotation, same sort of beginning. And there's a lot of value, I think, in doing the same prompts over and over again with different words, because we have different experiences with different words. So starting off with the intentions, moving into February, we did a vision board. And you can see that from year to year, I mixed things up a little bit. This is a real vision board. This one's hanging in my office here, but I usually take a picture of it and add it to my album if that's what I do there. This is just a photo of yoga on the TV. Moving into March, the practice prompt. Sometimes I'm super successful, sometimes I'm totally not successful, and that's part of the story, right? That's part of this journey through here. One thing I always like to bring up too is that this project and the community isn't a replacement for mental health help or therapy. I'm not a therapist. I am just a regular person who loves memory keeping and documenting, and this is the way that I've found to connect with a word over the course of the year. I totally believe in mental health treatment and therapy, and always encourage people that if you need more to get help, and we can help you within our community if you are looking for ways to connect with a therapist and those kinds of things as well. Let's see, we do some I am statements often. Again, writing, right? This opportunity to write and to think about what's actually happening with your word. Are you connecting with it? What does your word look like through the lens of your camera? What do you see when you actively look for your word in your life and the ways that it might be working or not working? The progress prompt in June, you can see that there again. Responding. This one is just responding to basic prompts that are set up in advance, and you just go in and you answer them. And that's a part of how you connect to your word there. Some collage and or stamping, usually something like that happening in here. Coming into August then, this one was the story I'm telling myself. Let's see, just kind of clipping through here. So you can see I usually have some photos, the combination of photos and words, just like in lots of my projects. And again, the reminder that it doesn't have to look like this, right? You can be doing this in a journal. You can be doing this in a traveler's notebook. You could do this in some other kind of album. You can take the prompts and adapt them to what makes sense for you. Letter to myself. This one's a little bit harder to turn. Picture of my feet in yoga, embracing imperfection. That's a lot of what we all do. Being thankful for a variety of different things about myself at that point in time. A little bit more about gratitude. That's something that we talk about as well. Moving into November, this one was like little stories about right now. So including photos mixed with some little tags that I made there. So you can see that there's always the opportunity to do something that's more quote unquote scrapbooky or crafty, but you can also have it be as simple as you might want it to be as well. And then moving into December with the facts and feelings, and then what do you want to remember. So that is a look at habit. And then let's also dive in and we'll look at 2020, which is just wrapping up for this year now, and see what that one looks like as well. Okay, so my word for 2020 was less. Obviously, 2020 has been a very interesting year for all of the reasons that you all already know. I loved having this project as a touch point throughout the year and a way to come back and reconnect with my word, especially in a year like this that just put everything off kilter, right? Everything felt different, and a lot of things felt uncomfortable. And having a word, even a word like less, where yes, we did a lot less of everything, the invitation was still there to reflect, to connect with that word in a positive way, to find ways that less was really beautiful. And that was really what I kind of ended up, that was the angle that I ended up going with it as well. So again, starting off with the definition, the reason why, responding to things about the year ahead. I'm really looking forward to doing this for 2021. I haven't done it yet, and I'm getting very excited the more that I talk about it. My word for 2021 is going to be heart. And I've said in a couple different places that I don't have a really, I don't know exactly why I picked it, but it feels like it's the right word. So that's what I'm going for. And having this sort of invitation to do this writing in the beginning of the year is really, that's how I solidify what my intentions are for the year, and give myself the opportunity to think a little bit more, think a little deeper or more deeply about how this word might work in my life this year. February vision board. Here's an example of vision board inside the album, which again is something that I have done in the past. Sometimes it just depends on what I feel like doing. Sometimes I want to go big and work on the canvas, and other times I want it to be smaller and inside my album, and those are decisions that I make as I go along. The practice prompt in March, this was a full fail for me this year, because as we know, March is when things just went for many of us. And so I wrote about that in the reflections of why that didn't happen for me this year, why it seemed to go askew in so many ways. And then moving into April, I did some I am writing. What am I giving myself permission to do? What am I learning? What am I saying yes to? Those are some of the ways that we've approached that one in the past. In May, I moved in here with some photos. Again, seeing my word through the lens of my camera. Always a lovely invitation, and really a way that I always like to experience my word as well. June, again, progress, prompt, checking in, where are we at, what's happening, collage. Then in July, also giving the opportunity to do collage and writing, or collage and photography, and as you participate in the workshop, we talk more about that, and more about why collage is a great way, or stamping and painting. I always say collage, but that's kind of what I mean. A more artsy approach is such a wonderful way to connect our heads and our hearts and our hands all together, which is one of the reasons why I've continued to include those kinds of prompts in there. Story I'm telling myself. This year we did a fun spinner project where the idea was that you had like 6 tasks that could be related to your word, or 6 tasks that you wanted to embark on over the course of the month, and you could come to your album and you could spin the wheel and do one of these things, one of these tasks that related to your word. Then I just wrote a little bit of reflection about those tasks. In October 2020, we did music, so looking at lyrics, listening, using music as the lens to connect with our words. In November, I did a hello and goodbye prompt, so an opportunity to say hello to some things and to goodbye to a few others. As then we moved into December and focused again on facts and feelings and what we want to remember. So that is a look at my albums for 2018, 2019, and 2020. Registration is open right now for the 2021 workshop. If you sign up before the 31st of December, it's $5 off, but it'll stay open past that time if you want to or need to join after the fact as well. As always, super excited to be looking forward to having a new word with a new year, and I hope that this video is helpful to kind of give you an idea of the kinds of things that we do in the workshop. Again, remembering that your approach doesn't have to be the same way within an album, but the key thing is showing up each month with this opportunity to connect with your word. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below, and thanks so much.